Here is one fact about every NBA team partaking in the 2024 postseason. Let's start in the Eastern Conference with the first-seeded Celtics. The Celtics clinched the best record in the entire NBA. The last time that happened was in 2008, which was also the last time they won a title. They're also the only NBA team this season that is top 5 in both points scored per game and points allowed per game. Moving on, we have the second-seeded Bucks. Of the top 7 NBA teams regardless of conference, the Bucks are the only team with a losing record on the road. At the time of this recording, the Bucks are 18-20 during away games. Next up is the third-seeded Knicks. Despite being third in the East at the time of this recording, the Knicks show up in the top 5 across many important statistical categories. They are the second best defensive team, 4th best rebounding team, and the 5th best in point differential. Fourth seed, we have the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers made 1,079 three-pointers so far this season. The last time they surpassed 1,000 threes in a single season, they made it all the way to the finals and lost to Kevin Durant and the Western Conference All-Stars. At least that's what it was, right? That wasn't a real NBA team. This current record is the most threes in franchise history for a single season in Cleveland. And now for the 5th-seeded Orlando Magic. This season has been a roller coaster and not one of those slow ones in the Disney parks. In November, the Magic started out hot going 13-5. They cooled down in December and January, bringing the record near 500 at about 25-23. Then the following 3 months, they stepped on the gas again and went 22-9, giving them a winning season for the first time in 5 seasons. 6th seed, the Pacers. Despite their ups and downs record-wise, the Pacers are still the best offensive team in the NBA. They lead the league in points per game at 122.9, and this is not hot air or high volume because they're also the league leader in field goal percentage at 50.5%. They're taking a lot of shots and they're making a lot of shots. And now for the 7th seeded 76ers. Don't let the 45-35 record fool you. The 76ers win percentage with Joel Embiid this season is at 78.9%, which would give them a better record than the Celtics for the best record in the NBA if Joel never got injured. Statistically, you can make the argument that Joel was well on his way to win his second MVP and was putting up historic scoring numbers. Now he's back, which makes the 76ers a major dark horse. Do not judge this team based on its seed number. Here's another team you shouldn't judge based on seed number, the 8th seeded Miami Heat. Oh boy, where have we seen this before? If the Miami Heat has a deep playoff run this year, yes, they will play most of their games on the road. The good news is, despite being 8th in the East, they have more road wins than even the 1st seeded Nuggets of the Western Conference. For an 8th seeded team, that's crazy. Who's ready for playoff mode, Jimmy Butler? And now for the 9th seeded Bulls. If the Bulls can lock in while they play, this team is capable of pulling off amazing things, for they are the first team this season to hold the #1 offense Pacers to just 100 points in a game when they beat them 125-99. On the rebounding side of things, the Bulls became the first team to out-offensive rebound their opponent by +20 and out-defensively rebound the same opponent by +15. This happened when the Bulls beat the Cavs back in February 132-123. The Bulls got 74 rebounds, the Cavs just got 39 rebounds. And at the bottom of the Eastern Conference play-in tournament, don't count them out just yet, it's the 10th seeded Hawks. This Hawks roster has a lot of talent on it, but maybe the players just don't fit together. For example, they are 500 this season when DeJounte is playing without Trae Young. They are also 500 this season when Trae is playing without DeJounte Murray. However, when both guards play together, they have a win percentage of 41.7%. They are a losing team when they play together, but a break-even team when one is playing all by himself. If the Hawks win their play-in tournament games, they will be facing the Celtics. Good thing for the Hawks is when they beat the Celtics in March, they had a 30-point comeback, making it the largest comeback so far this season and the 6th 30-point comeback since 1997. Moving on, we have the Western Conference, starting with the first-seeded Nuggets. When the Nuggets beat the Wizards back in February, that was the 29th team that Nikola Jokic recorded a triple-double against, meaning he has a triple-double against every NBA team except for, well, obviously the Nuggets. Also, as a team, the Nuggets are not big on the three-ball, at least not compared to modern three-ball. They are dead last in three-point attempts with 31.1 attempts per game as a team. Next up is the second-seeded Timberwolves. This is the first season since 2004 where the Timberwolves won at least 50 or more games. Back in 2004, the Timberwolves made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals, but lost to the Lakers in 6 games, and then those Lakers lost to the Pistons in 5. Moving on, we got the third-seeded Thunder. One not-so-fun fact about the Thunder is they were the first above 500 team to lose to the Pistons this season back in January. One positive fact about them is they lead the league in blocks per game at 6.6. Next up is the fourth-seeded Clippers. The Clippers are the only franchise with at least 3 players in the Hoops Hype Top 30 ranking for the 2023-24 season, meaning you could argue they're the only team with a traditional big 3. The players that made the top 30 are Kawhi Leonard at 14th place, Paul George in 24th place, and James Harden in 28th place. And now for the 5th-seeded Mavericks. Did you know that Kyrie Irving is averaging 25.6 points per game as a second option? What makes this crazier is that he is 13th in points per game this season. The Dallas Mavericks have 2 players that crack the top 15, obviously Luka number 1 at 33.9 points per game. This duo definitely changed the narrative. One fact for the team as a whole, they were the last team though to get an overtime game this season. They finally had one in the win on April 7th, and if that game did not go to overtime, they would have not had any so far this season. Next up is the 6th-seeded Pelicans. The Pelicans have been boom or bust. They can't seem to play in very close games. They have a record of 1-6 in games decided by 3 points or less this season. The losing record is one thing, but personally to me what's more interesting is that there's only been 7 games that were decided by 3 points or less. This season for the Pelicans have been blowouts on either side, either for or against. They truly have some consistency issues, either they're hot or they're not. And now it's the 7th-seeded Suns. Don't let the Suns seed number fool you. This team has a higher win percentage than last year. This season so far, they have a 58% win percentage. Last year, as a 4th seed, they won just 54.9% of their games. The West is just crazy competitive this season, which is why their seed number is technically lower. This Suns team is also the first team since the 2003 Lakers to have a 6-game stretch of 40-plus point nights for a single player. Kobe did it all 6 times back in 2003. The 2024 Suns had Booker drop 52, KD with back-to-back 40-plus nights, then Booker again dropping 46, 62, and 44. This happened in January of this year. Along with the Mavs, the Suns also have 2 players in the top 15 for scoring average, being Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Next up, it's the 8th-seeded Sacramento Kings. Domantas Sabonis has had an amazing year so far for the Kings. He achieved the most double-doubles in a season with 74 double-doubles so far this season, and 61 of those came in a row. Also, Sabonis has a perfect 10-0 record against Anthony Davis all time, so the Lakers should do their best to avoid the Kings. And now for the 9th-seeded Warriors. The Warriors are one of the shortest teams in the league. They have 0 7-footers and their tallest player is 6'10" Dario Saric. Despite being so short, they have the best rebounding team in the NBA, averaging 46.7 rebounds per game. And last but not least, in 10th place, LA Lakers. They are still one of the most efficient teams in the league as they are tied in 2nd place for best team field goal percentage at 49.8%. Also for an all-time stat, the Lakers have made the finals at least once in every decade since the NBA's inception, from the 40s all the way to the 2020s with that 2020's bubble finals. So here was one fact about every NBA postseason team. Let me know which team you think is going to win it all this year and what are you looking forward to for this postseason and playoffs. Don't forget to dunk on that like button and subscribe with notifications turned on. I'm Rebound Rewind and I'll fast forward to you later.